All right, all right, all right. Welcome to this episode of Parables from the Pit. My guest here, Dan Nagy. Dan Nagy, all the way from Canada, mon pays de merveille. What's up, bro?
Oh, I it's been a long trip down, and I'm excited about soccer tomorrow morning.
All right, okay. Well, we're not going to go to our little intro that we typically have because we got this shitty device here that is not fucking working. And we have been trying to engineer this for the past 20 minutes. And although it has failed, we have successfully managed to have the camera on and have you record it so that we don't have you come back 2 days from now. So we can go ahead and turn our hand up all the way, turn it around, and put a pad on our own back. Warrior X
8. Yep.
Date was?
That was March 2017.
And you were off Warrior Books, right?
I was Warrior Book 200.
Warrior Book 200.
Yep.
Talk to me. What was the first thing that Dan got you kind of like attracted to the message of Warrior? What was it that resonated with you initially?
Yeah, so it was actually an old school brother that got me into this, Tony LeBlanc from up in Canada.
Oh, really?
I randomly ran into Tony. Like this was an act of God. And I was at a real estate conference in Toronto, and it was after the conference. Everyone had left.
Yeah.
And I was walking in a bare hallway. There was one dude sitting working on his computer. I have no idea why. I sat down next to him and said, "Hey man, what's up?" And he's like, "Oh, how's it going?"
Yeah.
I said, "Pretty good. How was the conference?" And we just started talking, and we got along really well. He said, "Hey, you wanna go for supper with me?" I said, "Sure." And it was there where he first told me about this psychopath named Garrett White,
Yeah.
and Warrior, and everything that he had learned from it. And I told him about my situation at the time, which was not a great the ending of a 7-year marriage.
Yeah.
And so that's how I first got into it. So I went home, I looked him up right away, and it was the Warrior on Fire podcast.
Mm.
And legitimately, it was like Garrett reached in the back of my head and took every single one of my thoughts out and was displaying it to the world. So he knew exactly what I was going through, the lies that I had been telling myself, and everything that I had done to normalize my shitty situation at the time.
Yeah. Fuck. So it was Tony.
It was Tony.
You didn't know Tony, right? It was just like you met him at the conference.
100%.
You guys just like shit. And he came in. I don't think he was even active at that time.
Nope.
Like he came to Warrior a year before or 2 years before, and he kind of like he got what he needed, and he was like, he's just away from it for a while. And he just graduated 56, right?
I saw that.
Yeah, dude. He came in 56. And dude, what an incredible journey for him at Warrior Week 56 and the changes, because he initially came in, I think it was 13 or Warrior Week 13 or 14, one of them back in 2015 or something like that.
Yeah.
2014. So Tony comes back in 56, but at the same time, he has you come into this experience. So you opt in Warrior Book. You had an experience online with Warrior Book. And then came in Warrior X, and which was this 48 hours, crazy, insane, fucking version of Warrior Week. What made you opt in for that and roll into that one?
That was my, Warrior X was. I don't know what they told you and what you were able to do, but that was my. I kept looking at Warrior Week and thinking, back then it was rich entrepreneurs, that businessmen with kids that could afford it, and there just wasn't anything that really allowed me to jump in, and that was the first thing that said, like, okay, we're allowing you to do this.
Mm.
And at first it was pure. There was so much built up angst and so much built up pressure in me to do something crazy.
Yeah.
Because I knew that everything that I had done had got me to where I was, and I needed something really big. So that was the first thing that says that was telling me that this is.
So you opt in, you go in, you're kind of like, I'm called to be here. I'll see what comes out on the other side. I just know I got to be there, and it looks fucked up. Fuck it, I'll go.
Yep.
Right? What was your experience after that? Like, where was Dan after Warrior X?
I was in pretty much the best place that I had been in 15 years. Really to come in there and to get slapped in the face, both physically and emotionally and spiritually. I was in a place where I finally was able to look at myself for the first time with some clear, no goggles on. You know, the lenses were clear finally, and I could see really what I had dug myself. There were so many unbelievable lessons to be learned from that, and I'll never forget it. I mean, simply put, the lying to yourself, or to myself was. I had dug such a deep hole that there really was no way out of it, you know, except for telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so I had started listening to Garrett about 6 months prior to actually being separated. And so after it really, one of the biggest things was, well, what do you want? And that whole time I had got into a situation in my life that I had never really thought about what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I just did what people do, and I did what people told me to do, and I did what I saw other people doing. And it got me to a place where I didn't fucking like.
Yeah. Dude, I remember you specifically at Warrior X. Like, there was this super powerful guy that was just crushed. Like, that relationship that you were in, it just crushed your entire, it crushed your power. That's what it did. It kind of like, it put a fucking garbage bag. That's the best way I can describe it. It put a garbage bag around you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just a fucking bag, right? But inside there's this powerful dude, but yet this fucking relationship put a garbage bag in you in such that it wasn't like the relationship itself to blame, but it was how you chose to continue to be inside of that relationship and back and forth that kind of like painted the fucking picture of the garbage bag on you.
Right. Yeah.
And literally what Warrior X does is that first you dig a fucking 2-hole and you kind of open your eyes and you could see outside of the garbage bag. It's like, okay, fuck this. Like, yeah, fuck this. And then you rip the fucking garbage bag apart. And that's what I saw rising, right? You walking into Warrior X and the X challenges and completely getting rid of the garbage bag.
Right.
Which brought you back to you, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else, but
Yeah.
just to like, oh, okay, fuck, man. I've been this powerful guy and wanted and desired to build big stuff. And then what that also did to you is that it really fucked you up when it came to like trusting into another relationship.
Right.
For a while, I remember that. I like the hesitancy the desire was there, but it's like, man, I just don't want to risk anything else now, especially with my son. And so like, man, being in a relationship is the last thing that I have as a priority in my agenda. Right now, everything else matters than that. But that story got turned over, and obviously today you're standing here with, your beautiful wife in the back and pregnant, and it's like that story changed. Talk to him about the process of post Warrior X and what happened to you. And, you took some of these tools, and when you started seeing yourself, what did that confirm to you and give you permission, if you want,
Right.
What did seeing yourself, all of yourself, right, the entire totality of yourself, outside of the fucking garbage bag, give you permission to?
Well, it made me take a look at my life other than the relationship. The relationship is what brought me into Warrior, but as business does with a lot of the guys, when I took the garbage bag off, I got to look and see that I had been doing that in all of my life. And so the guy that I had saw needed a lot of work and a lot of questions that weren't asked for a long time. So one of the big things that, I mean, the relationship is one, and we can get into that if you want.
Yeah.
The second one was really, I mean, I was an 11-year firefighter, and at the time as well, I had not really been that happy in it either. I think it's a phenomenal job, but it just wasn't doing it for me anymore, and there was no. That was stifling every growth that I had in every avenue of business ever. And I remember being on a call with Garrett where he called me the half-assed man, sitting on the fence both sides. I didn't know whether to do firefighting full-time or real estate full-time, or like get off the fucking fence and do something, make a decision. And so I never would have made that decision ever. Like that was more security than I could have ever asked for.
That is true.
But it also didn't allow the freedom that I wanted.
Yep.
So quitting firefighting was a big one for me.
I know. Emotionally, logistically, and there's so many other firefighter brothers that came into the Brotherhood, and so many of them also coming into Warrior Week and had to face the same dilemma. Where there was something that served them and there was a purpose, but that same structure around that purpose was inhibiting them from the growth that they truly wanted for themselves and their families.
Right.
As if there was the sacrifice that came in of themselves and their families' growth for the purpose of serving. And for some people, they're fine with that. But those guys, they were at a point just like you, where once they were aware of it, it's like, man, this is not what I want. This is not what I want for my son.
Right.
I want more, right? And so if I want more, I got to leap. And the leaping decision is extremely hard because you got to let go. And it's not just the money and the security. It's like, fuck, man, I signed up for this mission.
It's who you are. It's who I was. That was my identity.
It 100% is your identity.
Yep.
Because it's been forged literally in the fucking fire.
Yep.
Like it's, and if I mean, I can't sit here and talk about being a firefighter. I can only, from the outside, just have a conversation, and knowing you and knowing so many other guys and what you guys express is like, you'll never know until you're in the fucking fire, man. So, like once you're in the fucking fire, then you can have a conversation about firefighters, right? And
Right.
because it's so scary for the majority of people to be in there, right? Panic kicks in and like, okay, what do you, like panic kicks in, next thing you're fucking burned to death because, the only oxygen you had, you give it away for more flame and you blew yourself up, right? So in that chaos, how to be aware of yourself, how to be aware of, the people you're serving, your brothers, everybody else inside of that game, is who you are. It's who you are sitting here, right? That's the fucking, like, dude, once you're forging it, you cannot undo the firefighter inside of you. Like, that's a fucking story. Your firefighter is still in you, but you're just doing different things now.
Making different decisions.
Like, there would be literally no hesitation if there's a fire and you need to walk into it. You walk into it. Even at age of fucking 98. You'd be a little bit slow, but you still make it. So the point is, this identity that you created for yourself. Yeah. You didn't lose it. You decided to expand it. You say, hey, man, this guy inside of me, he can serve in multiple places. One of the things you did is also that you opted in for the certified trainer program, right?
I did, yeah.
Which is the manifestation of this exact fucking same thing that I just brought up, which is the firefighter you inside of you wanting to serve above and beyond just a limited area, which is like fire, right? So talk to me about that decision. What was the what was the intention behind it and the purpose behind it for you?
So coming out of Return to the King, I mean, certified trainer was the only path. And the big thing about certified trainer for me was I currently am building my custom home building company up in Winnipeg, and that to me was priority. But at the same time, Warrior has allowed me to experience life in a way that I've never known possible. And to see so many people that I know personally, and that's not many, so I can imagine there's a fuckload more, that all they need is Tony to tell them a little more.
Yeah.
And if I can help a few guys do that, I mean, that was really big to me.
Yeah.
So I watch, you, and I watch Coach Kevin, and I watch, Garrett was the first one. And there's the confidence, the certainty, but also the willingness and the love behind it to beat someone's ass out of love and to tell them what they need to know. And that was one of the big pulls of like, am I able to do that for people that I love?
Yeah.
So that was always in the back of my mind. Certified trainer was the only path that we had at the time. And so, what I really loved about it was the ability to communicate to one person very deeply, but also a multitude of deeply or of people on a deeper level. And to me, that communication is huge, right? So it's going to help in all aspects of my life. It's going to help in business. It's going to help me talk and frame my son. It's going to help me talk to the rest of my family and everybody. So I love the certified trainer program. But then when Empire came out or the Syndicate, it was one of those things of, what's your real goal? Where's your focus right now? And I knew that my heart wasn't in CT at the time. It was aiming the entire cannon at my business. Yeah. And so that's when I stepped into Syndicate.
Beautiful. And so let's roll back and let's talk about the Warrior Week experience itself. Warrior Week 48.
Yep.
That was the one he came in. What brought you to 48? And inside of that, specifically, talk about like day one. At the end of this is parable from the pit, and night one in the pit. What do you had to face?
So for me, Warrior X was a patching up the hemorrhaging, and it was just making sure that I didn't die. And once I was all put back together, and I could see me for the first time, and I knew kind of where I wanted to go and who I wanted to be. Time went on, and it took about a year for me to really get on my feet again and make some big choices again and ask some really big questions. And Warrior Week to me was about, Warrior X was about fixing me up.
Sure.
Warrior Week was, let's pour the jet fuel on. Let's really get to the root of all this shit that's holding me back. Let me find me again. Let me find God again. Let me truly connect to something bigger than myself. And that was really the impetus for signing up for Warrior Week and wanting to see who I really was, as well as seeing just how far I could push myself.
So truly, it was you came in for the divine journey. It was a spiritual journey you were going, because you've already gone through the physicals. I couldn't imagine anything more than like being a firefighter. You've seen the most extreme physical challenges that one in a lifetime could actually even see. You've done Warrior X, which was a door opener to the whole new conversation of the lies and and then this was truly the spiritual journey to find you an even deeper version of yourself and the source and that relationship between you and the source God, and what is the relationship here without having anybody else in between.
Right.
Like, who am I in relationship with God, and what is our relationship, and ultimately, can I have an encounter? Right. That's a lot of guys come into Warrior Week for that, to see if they can seek that encounter, and if that happens by itself, it typically happens on the second day in the mountain, and it's a very personal personal experience that each man experiences, and he knows, right? It's not like, hey, bro, you're gonna see this. It's like, you'll know what you need to know at the end. So that happened, and it shifted you. There's also something else that shifted in you. Inside of that is that, you believed again in having a relationship. And so why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. One of the biggest thing for me was the woman that I wanted in my life that I didn't think was out there. She couldn't, I knew that she wouldn't be able to take the pussy that I was. I knew that I needed to become whole. I needed to become a king, really, in order to have a queen. Like, there was no other ways to put it. So when I went through Warrior X, that was a big thing of, like, get your shit together and asking a lot of questions. But I didn't even know what I wanted in a woman as much as what I wanted out of me. So I asked a lot of questions, first about myself, then about a partner. And Garrett asked me, he said, do you even know what you want? And if you don't, fucking write it down. Write down some non-negotiables. That'll be easy. Like, if she doesn't, if the person you're having dinner with doesn't have the shit that you want, get the fuck out and don't waste any time.
Sure.
Because I knew that what I wanted was a loving, honest, communicative relationship. That was what I wanted. And so it wasn't, that eliminated a lot of the bullshit years that usually come after a breakup. Of, just going around and meeting people and hanging out with people and the weird shit that happened, the awkwardness of relationships, right? Dating. So really, I didn't want to waste time because I got clear on what I wanted. And I knew exactly what I wanted. And it was, once I was very clear, you can say it to God, to the universe, whatever you want, it came to me. I had got myself into a place where I truly, for the first time in my life, really loved myself. I loved my life. I didn't need outside sources, validation. I was content with hanging out with just my son, and really knew what was important to me at the time. And in walked this woman that completely was everything that I'd ever wanted, and I was so guarded. There was no way for her to break that force field for a while, and I legitimately put her through the ringer. A woman that wasn't that didn't know herself as much would have bailed, and that was fine. So all of these questions and the clarity, it really got me to a place where I was doing the vetting that I should have done in the first place, that I didn't know that I needed to do. I didn't know that I needed to ask specific questions, and because I wasn't asking them myself. I didn't love myself, so how could someone else? And I truly, this is one thing that is just so deep inside of me, is that my wife, Alicia, she never would have been, I would have never been able to handle that. She's confident, and that would have crushed the old me. There's no way that I could handle that. I would have taken everything as an attack on me and defensive. And if you're saying that you're great, well, that means that I'm not.
Oh, I see.
So it's just it I became the person that I needed to be to handle this, and it's unbelievable. It's what I always knew was out there, and it's not all rainbows and lollipops.
Yes.
But having those collisions is one thing that I've seen that you grow so much stronger after. And knowing that you're coming at each other out of a place of love, very similar to Warrior, and that we need to talk about this. We need to break something down, break some stories or whatever the fuck we're telling ourselves. And it's going to be hard, but you get through it and you're stronger. And everything in you says not to do it, but you still do it. So getting into I never thought I'd be here. I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
I was looking to heal myself and become a better man out of it.
It's amazing how God, creates these miracles through you, through some other person. Is that once the wave is cleared. I was just talking to another brother just before you come, and he was supposed to come to Empire. He left a message. It's just, very strange way of describing why he's not coming. And he and his wife his wife just got pregnant. They found out that she's just pregnant, and it was panic mode, and it was all linked to we're scared, we're crying. So I give them a call and say, like, what are you confused about? What the fuck are you talking about? You're saying you're confused and you're scared. And, you were anticipating to come to this event, which is happening tomorrow and the day after. And then on your video, you're talking about, financials and other stuff that don't make any fucking sense. And he shared with me how she was told that she's not going to get pregnant because of, some physical situations or whatever that is. And she's currently 35, and that this is like literally a fucking miracle. But then this is happening 2 weeks after, where she's forgiving him on, him being unfaithful on her for years, and he came clean and he talked about it, and they fought for the past, 2 months or 3 months to work through this. And finally 2 weeks ago, when she forgave him, 2 weeks later, it's a fucking miracle. So I just told him everything like that I'm telling you. I'm like, bro, are you hearing what the fuck am I saying? It's not even me saying it. Like, look at the facts. So, like, for years, like, imagine if this would have happened while you haven't cleared out some of the lies.
Yeah.
Like, where would have this be gone? And more importantly, why is this happening now, 2 weeks after the fog of lies have been removed? It's a blessing from the sky, and you're truly not in fucking control. Like, we're not really in charge of how kids are coming. Oh, we didn't plan this. Bro, you're not planning shit. Kids just come. It's out of our hand, right? I mean, you got your wife, pregnant in the back. She's 7 months. You got a daughter coming up.
Yeah.
And it's just kids come and they bring a blessing. Your son came to your life and brought a blessing. And now your daughter is coming and is bringing a new blessing. And the beauty of this is that the fog has been removed. And to come back to the point that you were saying, you removed this fog that was put on in order to block, the significant other to come to you. The minute you blew away the fog, then it was just there. It came. It's crazy.
In the most unbelievable way. Like, I can't even.
It's truly the power of the miracle versus saying, I went out there and I found that person. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes we go seeking the one that was seeking us, and bingo, right? But in this particular case, knowing, how hurt you were in the previous relationship and how guarded you've become, and like you said, it was difficult to let go. But once you've decided that, hey, I'm truly in love with myself, and I'm in love with the process of growing my son, and I'm in love with the process of growing this business. I'm in love with this identity that fuels this new other identity. And I'm thumbs up with that, man. Once you were truly at a place of no bullshit, looking yourself in the mirror and like had the thumbs up, then somebody else came in and gave you the thumbs up too.
Yeah. I'll never forget. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but
yeah, you are
at the end of Return of the King.
Yes.
I won't forget the person looking back at me,
Yeah.
because that was who I was looking for. That's who I was chasing, and that was a powerful moment.
Yeah. That was a confirmation, man,
Yeah, yeah, it really was.
that it was always you. Like, going around looking through all these, even Warrior, like, even like through all these programs, and only to find that motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. That the clarity that came from all of this, it manifests itself in so many different ways. When we decided to get married, we upped our marriage by probably 8 months, and we had only been together not that long.
Mm-hmm.
The old self, the old me, would have second guessed everything, and there's no way that it would have happened. But the power of clarity and questions. We were sitting out on date night one night, and we started talking to each other. And she said, "Well, it's just she believes in marriage before children."
Yeah.
And I was totally fine with
Yeah.
that. And I said, "Okay, well, that's great." So she said, "Well, I just don't. I hate that I have to wait." And I said, "Well, why do we have to wait?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, we can't get married, 'cause first we have to get engaged, and then we have to plan a wedding, and then we have to do this and this and this." And I said, why do we have to do this? And she said, I don't know why we have to do this. And through the process of just continuing asking, like, well, what do we want?
Yeah.
Versus why do we want it, and why do we have to do something else? We planned a wedding at about 3 months after that, because we knew exactly what we wanted. And we had dived deep enough into each other
Yes.
and into ourselves
Yes.
that it was something that was just, there was no question anymore.
How many people rob themselves the gifts of what they want by following what they're supposed to fucking do and never get either?
Oh,
They don't get what they're supposed to do done well. They don't get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
This whole concept that you just talked about. Well, we're supposed to do this and this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, dude, you're just fucking 19. You're going to get married at 19 because you're supposed to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 21, you're going to be left with the person that you hate the rest of your life. And now you're going to have 2 kids at 22. And at 26, you have 4 kids, and you hate this fucking person that you're next to. And you're like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice me for my children.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 36, you go ahead and, cheat on this person. Because at one point, some shit is going to happen. You're not going to tolerate this for like 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Something is going to happen, right? And we can see more and more on these divorces taking place by people that just did what they were supposed to do.
Yep.
Versus what did they truly wanted? Do you want to get married at 19? Or do you want something else?
And build it.
Yep. And do you even know this person? Like, here's the deal. Like, oh, hey, how long do you know person? I know him for like 3 months and we got married. Oh, okay, that's not much. Or I know him for 3 years and then we got. Doesn't matter.
No.
The length is bullshit. It's
right.
another support. You know when you know.
Time is a lie.
Time is a fucking lie. Because, dude, when I met my wife, I was 23, and I kind of hijacked this relationship and fucking I terrorized this because I fucking crashed on her sofa for like 3 weeks until she says, okay, fuck, yeah, okay. and the excuse was, hey, you know what? The university is downtown, so if I sleep here, I can go to my...
That makes sense.
So anyway, I crashed. And the point is, I was crashing because crashing was comfortable to me and her.
Yeah.
Like, if she didn't want me to crash, she would say, fuck off, right?
Yeah.
And if I didn't want to crash, I want to crash. But that space of being comfortable, like, with another person, that feeling like, oh, fuck, like, she's already a fucking family member. It feels like, somebody that feeling of comfort, when you're comfortable that much with a person, that's when you know.
Yeah.
And everything else, like being married and all the formalities, is just fucking,
Yep. Yeah.
It's just the additional stuff on the cupcake, man.
My the thought that time that I was putting so much onto time, and I gave it so much power. And it was big in the fire department. How much time you have on determines your seniority. How old you are determines your value. It pretty much in our society
That is
as
true.
far as like
Culture.
yeah. And then when we started really diving into things as far as kids and stuff that we're going to do together, or even decisions that we have to make when we were thinking about time. And I had learned about this warrior time warp from Clarity, and that completely shifted my world. I look at how it plays in my business, and as far as I'm looking at these home building companies that have been around for 30, 50 years, and I'm thinking there's no reason why I can't do this in 5 years.
Yes.
And get to where this is, because it seems like nobody's asking the important questions. Nobody's really following. It's shit that they've always done.
Shit had always done. Old procedure, old process they used to.
Right.
And so no one wants to innovate. No one wants to redo the work that serves the timeline of now.
Right. And so when I look at these lessons that we're learning in our marriage, and I love how we apply everything across all of our life, how do you reinvent yourself as a father, or how do you grow as a father? How do you grow as a husband? How do you grow as a leader in your family? And if your connection with whatever you believe in has either stagnated or something's not working, well, shit, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Like,
we have, you said it well, man. We have, men particularly, we have just given too much fucking power into time and supposed to.
Right.
Like literally, we have given too much power to time.
Yeah.
I was just talking about 2 days ago with a couple of our guys that are in a long cycle in construction, life sales cycle. Myself, I was in oil and gas, so I was just referring to the pain of going through an 18-month fucking process in order to get something happen. But that was us, right, on the other side, submitting to this process and procedures that was actually given power to the buyer, right? And it was literally, that was time that was giving power to the buyer. And so if you were impatient in that process, you would be crushed. Or they would get what they wanted from you at the prices that was completely fucking like ridiculous, right? But it was a power play, right? Now that you're mentioning, and this ties in beautifully to what we were talking about, is that, well, an RFP comes out, right? And then you respond to that RFP, request for proposal, you respond to it. But the way people respond to it is exactly what those home builders are doing for the past 30, 50 years. They do what they've done. So they literally copy-paste answers from 5, 6, 7 years ago that they've submitted in their other proposal. So 80% of it is all copy-paste of work that was done 6, 7 years ago. Some cases fucking 10 years ago. And 20% of it becomes customized. Like the first, the letter or the executive letter, and then the rest is just... So, and this was, we were talking about the guys. No wonder why they don't get the fucking deal, because nobody deals with the rework. There needs to be a rework done based on the timeline of now, today, right? If the questions are asked, what's the point of taking work that was done in the past and copy pasting it and providing it as an answer to now? You may get away from it, one or a couple of deals, but there's going to be a point where an innovation comes in. A guy like you comes into the industry, right, and says, all right, like I'm doing business very simple. I'm going to actually spend time with you to get very clear on what you want. And at the end of this process, your clarity is going to define the timeline we're going to spend on this project.
Right.
It's not what the typical, you hear that from any fucking contractor says, typically, these are typical timelines of the industry. Like, okay, build me a barbecue. Well, typically it's going to take between 8 to 12 months, 8 to 12 weeks. I'm like, man, how long does it take to fucking build an outdoor barbecue? He goes, well, it takes 2 days. Okay, so that's so why am I fucking waiting 8 to 12? Well, typically the supplier, there's always this typical thing. But What they're hiding behind that is that they don't have enough staff. They don't have enough resources. They don't want to say no to you. They want to keep the job. They want to keep the deposit, and they want to make sure that they do your job, their job, and everybody else's. So they're not telling the fucking truth. Right? They're not fucking telling the truth. Yeah. And when you confront them, they get all fucking defensive all over it because they're fucking. It's like, bro, why don't you just say, I'm overstaffed right now. I'd rather you tell me I'm overstaffed right now, but I'll do it in 8 weeks from now. It's done. That you fucking lying to me. Because 8 weeks from now, you're going to tell me that you need another 6 weeks because of supplier X and Y and Z.
Yep.
And then you're going to actually be forced to give me shitty stuff because just to prove your lies.
Yep.
You know, just to say, this supplier, they're going to go to a point of covering their lies that affects the quality of the work and the quality of the fucking, the raw material they're actually providing. Dude, I've seen it because I'm talking about my own fucking house, in this situation. And so inside of that, nobody wins because nobody was clear to begin with.
Right.
So the innovation that you're truly bringing is a new way of thinking. And I absolutely agree with you. There's absolutely no fucking reason why you can't do what was done in the past 50 years because you mastered the art and science of collapsing time by being honest and clear.
Yeah. I feel that it was a blessing in disguise. I came from the spec industry.
Yeah.
So I made all the decisions. I didn't have to learn all of the stuff that made the custom home building world difficult. And so I feel like I'm coming in from both sides. There's an advantage and a disadvantage. One, I didn't have the the back end of all the processes and understanding exactly how to walk a client through, but at the same time, I came in with fresh eyes and I realized what a bunch of fucking liars they are. It's insane.
I know.
And so when I'm talking to people, it's legitimately difficult to when they're asking me questions that I know the answer to, that I've heard so many times before. And I don't even come from that, but yet I'm still indoctrinated into answering this way or thinking this way, to really put it out all on the table in a way that is at time I've been far too open and far too honest, where it actually scares them.
Yes.
So that's when I have to go back and look at the marketing and look at the process of the sales process and the indoctrination process of reframing their minds.
Yes. But I can tell you, when you're talking to someone that wants to have a custom house, luxury house built, you're talking to a guy. If a guy is going to build a custom luxury house, you're talking to a successful guy.
Correct.
And you're talking to a fucking man that is straightforward. Like straightforward. And so the straightforward conversation is the following. It says, bro, you're building this fucking house for your family for the next 10, 15 years or whatever that is. Would you want this fucking house to be built with block of lies? Would you really want that? Or like literally blocks of fucking lies told by custom built house X and Y and Z? Or would you want it to be built with blocks of fucking honesty? True honesty. Here's the material, here's the timeline, here's the process, here's what I know. Here's how you and I are fucking clear on this. Like, this is what you want. If I'm clear on what you want, if you are clear on what you want, there's no fucking conflict.
Right.
Time is irrelevant.
Yep.
Because you want to get what you want. It's kind of like your marriage. You wanted to get married. She wanted to get married. Why am I supposed to follow these fucking conditions on the outside? That would have fucked things up.
It's dealing with every single lawyer in. Why is this so fucking difficult? Just, this is what we want. We've agreed to it. Why do you have to fuck it up with legalese?
Clarity truly collapses time. And that's your quote in this conversation. Clarity collapses time. When we're unclear, we fuck around and time owns us.
Yep.
And then we go around 9 months like fucking unclear idiots, coming back to the same work that we needed to do just to get fucking clear. But there's a cost for going around 9 months or 9 years in some cases. There's a cost that we pay as men. There's a cost that we make our children and our wife and our kids pay. There's a cost financially for being unclear. But like literally, the biggest and the most expensive cost of a dad being unclear is the unclarity of the energy is going to transfer to his kids, specifically his sons. If we want to talk about generations of men, motherfucker, if you are unclear and if you're transferring unclear energy to your son, you're literally fucking up the next generation because of your unfucking clarity and your fucking uncertainty. So check yourself before you fucking wreck yourself. Chickity, check yourself before. Seriously, man, that makes so much sense. This song, check yourself before you wreck yourself. It is absolutely true. Clarity is just a checkup on the self. You remember the old self, that motherfucker, right?
Oh,
the fucking tree.
He pokes his head out.
The fucking tree. Not too many people knows about the old self, but all the guys from Warrior X, there's a specific location in the mountain. There's this fucking tree, man, up in the mountains, 6 miles up into the mountains. Everything is fucking green. Everything is beautiful. Like literally beautiful greeneries everywhere. And there's this fucking tree standalone that is standing and is burned. Yeah. Burned by lighting like fucking, I don't know, years ago. Because it's been like a couple of years that we went to that place and fucking tree was always there. Yeah. Not taller, not shorter, not brighter, same fucking color. And literally we symbolize that as the old self as something that, it won't go away.
No, he never does.
It won't go away. But, if you choose to hang out around the old self, guess who's going to reflect the old self? You. And we do that sometimes because, we find ourselves to be absolutely unclear. Yeah. And look at the power of clarity in your life. Look at what has brought you today. And look at the confidence of you being at this event. Because there's a bunch of other guys that are still in a place where, they're doubting. Like, dude, there's no fucking doubt when you're clear. If you're doubting, it's because you are unclear. Again. And that's a fucking problem. If you've gone through Warrior Week and you're unclear after a while, it's because you chose to hang out with the old self that was unclear. So his unclarity is reflecting through you. Does that make sense?
Sucked you back. Yeah.
So, dude, that was great, man. That was great. And I think more and more industries need to hear a new conversation versus old processes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We have become slaves into the old procedures and processes and the standards of the industry, which is a bunch of fucking lies.
It's bullshit.
There's a book there that's fucking amazing for everybody who's listening to this, also for yourself if you haven't checked it out. It's called The Lies of Statistics. It literally demonstrates how statistics makes you believe fucking lies and how people are really good at just throwing a couple of statistics and boom, you're done.
100% of the time.
Fuck. When I read that book, I'm like, motherfucker, I've been lied to so many fucking times.
Yeah.
Because I've just accepted it what it was.
Right.
Just the coloration they make between, this and that, it's like, all right, the prices of the houses in Calgary went down, and at the same time, 6 people ate 1 kilogram of black beans in Sudan.
That's why this is this way.
And then they're able to build the story.
Yep.
And then they spit out the data. Your logic mind is like, what the fuck? But they're able to actually link and create a causation. Like, this is the cause of it.
Right.
Dude, the fucking guy ate fucking beans in Sudan. Has nothing to do with, like, the mind says that, right? But statistics would say differently.
And it's our own clarity and our own certainty that stops that from being able to break our frame.
True.
And if we're not clear about what we want, we'll believe anything.
We'll believe anything. Yeah. Exactly. Like, if we're not standing for something, we're just falling for any fucking thing. And part of it is us, because they project these numbers and we're kind of fucking hungry for a satisfying story. And if we don't have a story for ourselves that satisfies us, we'll just keep fucking taking a bite at any shit that is thrown at us.
Right.
Okay, final words, man, for successful dad. You got your daughter on the way. You got your business growing. Obviously, you're into sports. You're going to play soccer tomorrow. We may just have you on our team based on your performance last time.
I think that's a good idea.
So we may do that, or we may have to call an audible. But, hey, if there's a guy out there, right, that had the same profile that Dan Nagy, before you opt into warrior and you made these changes yourself, right? And if you go back to the old self and the old Dan Nagy, and if there's a guy that is kind of like him and listening to this, you know, what would you say to him directly that just pierced to his heart? Like an invitation that fucking goes to his heart and tells him your story and says, hey, man, this is my advice.
Well, number one is you are enough. Deep down underneath all of the bullshit, you are enough. And that goes for everybody. And understanding that you are enough allows you to make certain decisions. And that one decision of believing the voice that's telling you that there is more. And there is something in me telling me that there is more than my current situation. I wish it was just the blue pill or the red pill or whichever one sedated you to a point where you don't give a fuck, and you didn't know any better. But there was a little voice inside my head that kept coming back saying, there's got to be, there's more than firefighting. There's more than a shitty marriage. There's more than buying an RV and going camping every weekend or and drinking with your buddies. There's got to be more. And that voice, whatever it's telling you, is probably right.
Beautiful share. And that's how we're going to end this episode of Warrior Week Parables from the Pit. You can find the details of this podcast on warriorweeknow.com. There'll be videos, audios, transcript of what Dan and I discussed. There's also going to be a new challenge that's coming out right now, Warrior Be the Man Challenge, coming out in a week from now. It's a digital challenge that's going to enable you to explore some of the concepts discussed on this conversation. If you're new to Warrior, I encourage you to check that out at betheman.com. You can get the book for free, and you can apply for the challenge. And, you know, for a price of a dinner, you could be inside of a game for 6 weeks exploring the reality of yourself and where that may lead you at the next step here inside of Warrior. If that brings you to the Be the Man boot camp, which could be the possible next steps, or as well as Warrior Week eventually, as we do them limited, then such is the calling. I mean, your journey started just basically you meeting someone, our friend Tony LeBlanc, randomly in a fucking just have dinner with a random strangers, and who know, like this was all like the guidance was in place for you to be sitting here today. And that could be exactly you listening on this on the other side. In either case, I want to thank everybody for listening to our show once again. I want to thank you for flying all the way from Canada, being here with us and the next 2 days and having an awesome time. I want to thank your beautiful wife as well, pregnant wife, sitting in the back and waiting for you. Awesome energy. And have yourself a fantastic day.